My name is Nathan Raab, and this is my presentation on genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is the biggest threat to humanity currently, because we are the closest to having this developed on human babies, and it has already changed food in so many ways. In 1972, the first organism was genetically modified by Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen. By 1994, the first genetically modified food was sold on the mass market, and by 2010, 29 different countries had genetically modified crops on their market. The reason this topic is being discussed so heavily recently is because 2 embryos were recently modified by scientist He Jiankui. He modified 2 embryos of twin girls so they would be born without HIV. If the girls are born without HIV, then there will be a discussion about whether this will be legal, whether it should be used permanently or not. There are 2 big fears of genetic engineering. The first being that it's too dangerous. Pulling out a strand of DNA or adding it in could just have catastrophic effects that we can't even comprehend. We don't even know. When the baby is born, something could have occurred that we didn't intend or mean to occur. The second fear being that it will work too well. If we are able to add DNA as we like or reconstruct the DNA and do whatever we like, then people could choose whatever they want with their baby, and they could basically have a menu of what they want, physically and or mentally. This could have catastrophic effects. Ethically, it's not the baby that God created, it's a baby that the parents created, and God didn't have anything to do with it. Another risk would be that social classes would just pull apart even further. The rich would have access to this, and their babies would be born smarter, stronger, better in almost every way. And the poor wouldn't have access to it, and their kids would be born without these positives and still be born with a diseases that babies may get because they didn't have access to it. Because of these risks, genetically modifying of embryos cannot continue without laws and professional supervision, because it could lead to death or scientists testing out their theories and hypotheses on babies to see how far they could go. It could also lead to scientists and doctors performing surgeries and embryo transplants without the parents' permission because they think it will lead to a disease. There are many laws that could be put around genetically modifying of babies. The first that I'd like to talk about is that only allowing it by professional doctors who have been trained in that field. Another law that could limit the negative effects of genetically modifying embryos of babies is to only do operations on the embryo that tests have shown are an issue and can be fixed with a certain operation, and only doing an operation for that to fix that issue. Another law would be to not allow any operations on the embryo that would just increase ability or any preferences. Anything that involves looks or athletic abilities or intelligence. Only do the operations to cure a disease or a birth defect or a problem that was shown up on a test. Another possible law would be to make the taxpayers pay for all the operations on the embryo. This one probably isn't quite as popular as the other laws, but this would stop any differentiation between the poor and the rich. This way the gap wouldn't just expand so that the poor would die off from diseases and the rich would grow smarter, stronger, better at everything. This would make it equal so that everybody has access to it and everybody can change their babies to get rid of the disease that they know is coming and has been shown up on the tests. Some people might say that genetically modifying babies will bring far more good that outweighs the bad. They might say that the ability to choose how your baby is going to be might cut down on abortions or abandoned children or even people not wanting to have kids. People who oppose putting laws around genetically modifying babies might say that it will create more diversity. They'll say some races might want a hair color that is uncommon for that race, or a certain ability that is uncommon for that race. People might also say that it will cause families to be closer together, that the kids will be into the exact things that their parents wanted them to be into from birth because they edited the embryos to be that way, and that there will be less pull from the children to do something in life that the parents might not approve of or might not have expected or wanted the child to do. Supporters of not having laws around genetically modifying babies might also say that the fields that the babies will go into, they'll be really good at because they were edited that way to want to do that and be very good at that their whole life. People might also say that there are already enough laws surrounding genetically modifying embryos. Unfortunately, these results will not occur. They will be mostly negative if there are no laws around genetically modifying organisms. They say that it will create more diversity and more races, but in reality, it could also eliminate different races and cultures altogether. If people are making any race or any culture they want their baby to be, then the idea of being a certain race or culture will be completely eliminated. Also, if parents are deciding whatever their baby is going to do and be super good at in life, it leaves no room for the jobs that nobody wants to do or people do because they have no other choice. Because all parents will make their babies super good at being a doctor or a lawyer or a politician. And those who say that there are already enough laws around genetically modifying of embryos are completely wrong, because the laws that are out right now around it are useless. Because the laws state that you cannot add or remove any DNA from an embryo, but there are new methods such as CRISPR that have a way of just editing the DNA that is already in there, and then it achieves the same result, but totally bypasses the current laws. Laws and regulations need to be proposed and passed before genetic engineering of modifying babies creates too many problems and changes that we cannot fix. It could change every single newborn baby that has been modified in a way that we cannot predict. After the recent modification of 2 twin embryos in China, it has created a huge legal and ethical question. How will genetically modifying babies be allowed to continue? And the answer is reasonably simple. With carefully laid out set of laws that prohibits any modification to a baby that could result in negative effects.